There has been a lot of reaction to this story, particularly when it comes to the culture of the service industry. For more on that, I'm joined by Lori Walker. She's a longtime sociology professor at the University of Regina and a former criminal analyst with the Regina Police Service. Thanks for being here, Lori.
Thank you for having me.
Now, hearing that girls are expected to dress and act a certain way in the service industry to be successful, even in 2020, isn't all that surprising, is it?
It's not surprising, and even with the Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement, we still see a disproportionate um, uh, vulnerability amongst women in terms of being mistreated or sexually harassed within the workplace.
Have you heard a lot about this kind of harassment from your students over the years?
I have, since I teach sociology of gender and a course on feminism. Plus, I did an investigation in the early 2000s of a business in North Battleford of alleged cases of sexual harassment. I've heard many, many stories.
And what are you hearing in those stories?
Well, one of the things that female students talked a lot about, especially because what we have is based on statistics, over 70% of females are working in the restaurant or service sector industry. So this particular topic is very salient to them. So I've heard, I don't want to use the derogatory language that has been used with them, but managers and perhaps the company at large has an expectation that they need to dress sexy in order to bring in more customers, to increase the amount of tips, and that they have to be attractive. And if you aren't attractive, then the likelihood of you being hired. Now, attractiveness, of course, is a pretty sliding scale, but I've heard that they have to, adhere to a certain level of beauty. I have a certain level of sexiness, and wear revealing outfits in order to, I guess, bring in certain customers. And of course, many of these females have said that while they're very uncomfortable with that particular expectation, is that it is their way, and they understand it is their way to make an income or increase the amount of tips that they get with their job.
Who is the onus on to acknowledge inappropriate behavior or expectations?
Well, the first thing I think, the first expectation I think is on the company or the franchisee owner to adhere to OH&S, which is at the public, or rather at the provincial level, and then human rights legislation at the federal level. So they have to understand the law, the legal consequences, and make sure that that knowledge is passed down to their managers, to the supervisors who are trained and educated about the law and adhering to that law. And then that education then has to be imparted upon all the supervisors, all of the employees. And then there has to be the responsibility that managers are putting that policy somewhere, whether, I've read different ideas of how to put that policy forward, whether it's on the menu, whether it's on the front door. So I think that level of responsibility is a top-down approach, but at the end of it, it is the responsibility of that company or franchise owner to make sure that their managers and supervisors are trained and educated how to deal with, number one, customers who are harassing their workers, and to ensure that there is a safe and structured process by which employees can submit complaints with regards to managers and supervisors themselves who are the ones doing the harassing. And that there is another thing that they call it is bystander intervention. And that means that you're training managers and employees to intervene when they see a worker is being harassed.
Lori, how does meaningful change actually happen?
I think meaningful change happens in a couple of ways. I think it has to hurt the pocketbook. So I think that companies and franchise owners have to be legally accountable and financially accountable. Number two, I think that these cases have to be exposed through the media because reputation is everything in this business. So your reputation can be improved or can be diminished by virtue of media exposure of these cases.
Thanks so much for your time, Lori.
Thank you. Have a
Lori,
good day.